Welcome. Tonight, we journey back in time, to a cold, mist-covered coastline where the days are short, the air smells of salt and smoke, and the only thing between you and hunger is the sea. This is not the Viking life of battles, longships, and glorious raids. No, tonight, we explore the quieter, harder, more forgotten side of Norse history, the part that doesn't make it into the sagas, the part that was lived by ordinary hands, that mended nets, hauled salted cod, and waited through long winters. Over the next 2 hours, you'll drift through 4 corners of this world. First, you'll live a day, just one, as a poor fisher on a Norse shore where everything smells of fish guts and wood smoke, and your hands are always cold. Then, you'll meet a Viking poet warrior, a man of contradictions and exile. Next, we'll dig into the secrets left behind in bogs and barrows, the silent clues of how they buried, remembered, and believed, where power, feasting, and quiet laws governed more than swords ever could. And finally, we'll step into a chieftain's longhouse. So, get comfortable, let your body sink into the mattress, breathe slowly, and let the rhythm of their lives become the rhythm of your sleep. Imagine you are not a warrior, not a raider, you are just someone you live in a modest timber hut, its roof covered in layers of turf and sod. The walls leak smoke and cold in equal measure. There's no insulation, just layers of wool and the heat of bodies huddled close. You sleep on straw, scratchy and uneven, and always just a little damp. Your pillow, if you can call it that, is a folded cloak. And when you wake, always before the sun, the fire has nearly gone out. You rise stiffly. The cold is not a visitor, it's a resident. Your breath curls in the air like mist from the fjord. Outside, the wind never stops. It whistles between wood slats. It tastes like salt, like ice, like memory. You pull on woolen leggings, heavy with last night's damp, and leather boots stiff with brine. Your hands are rough, scarred from nets and lines. Your nails are dark with fish oil. Breakfast is yesterday's hard bread. If it hasn't molded, maybe a scrap of dried fish, gnawed cold. The stewpot is empty. Again. Now, you walk down to the shoreline. The sea is grey, not angry, just relentless. The boat you'll board is little more than a shallow hull, patched too many times. His oars are worn smooth, not by care, but by generations of gripping hands like yours. The fishing itself is quiet, no shouts, just the creak of wood, the slosh of oars, the whisper of net ropes sliding over soaked timber. The air is thick with gull cries, and your stomach knots as the rocking boat stirs yesterday's hunger into nausea. Sometimes you catch nothing. Sometimes the haul is heavy and your arms burn as you pull. Either way, it's never enough. Not really. When the catch is good, you got the fish right there in the boat. You flick the blade with numb fingers. You throw the offal to the sea. The blood sticks to your sleeves. Later, back in the village, you hang the fish to dry on wooden racks near the smokehouse. It smells strong, pungent, like work, like survival, like home. You mend nets by lantern light. The thread bites into your fingers. You listen to the wind scratch at the roof, and you wonder, again, if your child's cough will pass by spring. There are no stories about you. You will not be sung about, but without you, the warriors would starve. As night falls, you lie back on your straw, the ache in your shoulders giving way to a dull numb. And outside, the ocean sighs, just as it always does. Now that you've felt the sea wind on your face, and the cold weight of fishing nets in your palms, let us drift away from the village, and into the life of a man whose story was written in poetry and in blood. Egil, a name that echoes across the old sagas, part warrior, part poet, part outlaw, part survivor. He was born in Iceland, in the 9th century, near the settlement of Borg, a place where long winters pressed against wooden walls, and stories were as necessary as food. His father was a stern and powerful man, whose temper, it was said, was deep as the fjords, and from the beginning, Egil was different. The sagas say he composed his first poem at 3 years old, a dark, brooding verse that made his family go quiet. By 7, he killed his first boy in a game gone wrong. Egil grew, not like a tree, but like a storm. He drank deeply, fought often, and spoke in verses, even as blood ran down his arms. Yet, beneath all that rage, There was brilliance, a quiet intelligence that spoke in meter and metaphor. His poems were not always lovely, but they were honest. When he lost his brother, slain far from home, Egil composed a poem so heavy with grief it felt like winter itself. And when he lost his beloved son to drowning, he nearly lost himself. But Egil did not just mourn, he acted. He rebelled against kings. He killed a man in his own hall, then rode for the coast, with blood still fresh on his blade. He was outlawed again and again, and still he endured. He sailed between Norway, England, and Iceland, always carrying two things, his axe and his words. One time, captured by a hostile king, Egil knew his death was near, so he asked for one final request. "Let me recite a poem," and he did. A long, winding verse, praising, yes, but full of clever turns, strange metaphors, and subtle mockery. By the end, the king spared his life, not out of mercy, but out of admiration. Egil lived to old age, long past the time most warriors were buried. His last days were quiet, blind, alone, reciting old poems in the dark, waiting for death to come as slowly as the northern snow. Was he a hero, a villain, something in between? Hard to say. The sagas do not judge, they just tell. And now, so do we. You breathe out slowly. The rhythm of Egil's life, chaotic but strangely calm, fades gently into the soft hush of wind and tide. And now we turn inward to deeper silence and older questions. As the long night drapes across the northern sky, we descend beneath the surface, not of the ocean, but of the earth, to a quieter world, a world preserved in silence and soil. In the bogs and fields of Scandinavia, the past sleeps, not in ruins or monuments, but in whispers, in the fibers of decaying ships, in combs made of antler, in iron keys tucked beside the dead. Let us begin with the most haunting discovery of all, the Viking ship burial. Imagine it now, a long, narrow vessel, carved by hand, dragged inland by ropes and sweat. It rests, not on water, but on dry ground, tilted gently under the weight of soil. Within its wooden frame, a body lies, wrapped in cloth, armored perhaps, surrounded by objects of use and of memory, a sword, a bowl, sometimes even a sacrificed animal, silent companions for the journey. Ship burials were not common. They were for the powerful, the ones whose names would be remembered, or whose status demanded tribute. Kings, even women, some of whom may have been priestesses, shield maidens, or revered elders. One of the most famous is the Oseberg ship, unearthed in Norway in 1904, buried beneath a mound for over 1,000 years. Inside it, two women, one elderly, one younger, their bones degraded, their story unknown, but beside them, silk, wooden carts, sleighs, carved animals, even imported spices. They were buried not just with wealth, but with symbolism. Their ship was their passage, a final voyage to the unknown. And the bogs, ah yes, the bogs, they preserved more than bones. They preserved tools, clothing, even butter. Yes, ancient bog butter, sealed in barrels, forgotten for centuries. And in some cases, they preserved people, bodies flattened and darkened by peat, but eerily intact, their last meals found in their stomachs, their hair still visible. We do not linger on them long, only enough to understand. The past is not gone, it merely sleeps, beneath layers of moss and time. Then there are the hidden caches, small, private offerings buried quietly, a broken comb, a child's toy, a knife worn thin, not treasure, not wealth, but life. Everyday moments offered to the soil, like a whisper to the gods. These artifacts do not shout, they do not dazzle, they murmur, and we listen. Now, with eyes closed, you might imagine walking through a small museum in Oslo, or polished wood underfoot, cool glass cases, soft lights illuminating a rusted brooch, a carved spindle, or a fragment of tapestry. Each object still, each object waiting for a story to be remembered, a name to be spoken, a silence to be filled. And now, as our footsteps fade from these hallowed halls of preservation, we return once more to the living world, to the firelight and warmth of power. Our final chapter begins not with toil, nor poetry, nor burial, but with feasting, authority. and the measured weight of leadership. Now, step away from the salt-stung village, walk slowly uphill, until the houses grow larger, the fences taller, and the smell of smoke becomes fragrant with roast meat, not dried fish. You are approaching the long house of a Viking chief. It is not a palace, but to you, a poor fisher or farmhand, it may as well be. The long house is long indeed, 30, even 50 meters, a great timber frame with curved ends, rising like the spine of a ship. The roof is steep and heavy with thatch. Smoke curls gently from the hole at its center. Inside, the air is warm, dim, golden, from flickering oil lamps in the central hearth. The walls are hung with tapestries, dark reds and browns, woven with scenes of myth or memory. The benches are thick with furs. The floor is packed, dirt, swept often, but never quite clean. You are here for the thing, a gathering of the free men of the district. Here, laws are spoken aloud from memory, not read from parchment. The law speaker stands, voice low but firm, repeating rulings with ritual calm. Disputes are settled, marriages proposed, fines levied. This is not chaos. This is order, old, living order, passed down by repetition, not decree. And tonight, there is a feast. The chieftain sits on a carved oak chair at the head of the hall. He does not shout. He nods. He listens. He decides. Power, here, is quiet, measured. The meal is simple by our standards. Barley bread, cured lamb, dried fruit soaked in mead. But to the villagers who brought it, it is a banquet. Wooden bowls pass from hand to hand. Everyone eats, even you. There is no silverware, no applause, only chewing, quiet murmurs, the steady crackle of the fire. Later, the skald stands. The poet, he clears his throat and recites an old saga, perhaps of Odin, or of a battle at sea, or maybe a tribute to a fallen son of the village. The room falls silent, not because it is required, but because memory is sacred here. Outside, the snow falls softly. Inside, you are warm. The firelight dances across the rafters, flickering on polished shields and curled drinking horns. In this moment, the Viking world is not about raids or violence. It is about community, order, endurance, and firelight. You lie back, feeling the weight of meat in your stomach, and the distant echo of the poet's final line. Even chieftains die, even halls grow cold, but the fire lives on in the telling. You've now walked 4 paths, 4 quiet, hidden roads into Viking life. You felt the bitter wind on a fisher's back, heard the sorrow and defiance in a poet's voice, unearthed the secrets that sleep beneath the bark, and warmed your hands at the hearth of quiet power. These stories are not loud, not glorious, but they are real, and they remind us that, even in harsh lands and harsher times, people found rhythm, order, meaning. And now, in the softness of your bed, with no nets to mend, no ships to build, no longhouses to sweep, you can let it all fade. Let the ocean grow still. Let the sagas go quiet. Let the firelight die down. You are warm. You are safe. And the past will still be waiting. When you wake, good night.